You're listening to the Everything Jewish 10 Minutes at a Time podcast, where you'll learn about every Jewish topic imaginable in about 10 minutes. And as always, quick disclaimer, my Hebrew pronunciation is like using voice to text on a roller coaster. Sometimes close, sometimes just chaos. So please forgive me if Entebbe comes out sounding like Entebbe or Entebbe. Today's topic is the raid on Entebbe, one of the boldest hostage rescue missions in modern history. Imagine if a Tom Cruise Mission Impossible movie was real, except with fewer special effects and more actual risk. That's Entebbe. It was 1976, disco was on the radio, bell-bottoms were fashionable, and Israel pulled off an operation so daring that military academies still study it today. We'll dive into what happened, why it mattered, and how this mission became a symbol of Jewish resilience and global counterterrorism strategy. Buckle your seatbelt, preferably tighter than those worn by the hostages on Air France Flight 139. Let's set the scene. On June 27, 1976, Air France Flight 139 took off from Tel Aviv, stopped in Athens, and was headed to Paris. But then, plot twist, 4 hijackers boarded, 2 Palestinians from the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine External Operations, and 2 Germans from a radical leftist group. Yes, Germans hijacking Jews just 3 decades after the Holocaust. Awkward, doesn't even cover it. They took control of the plane mid-flight and diverted it to Entebbe Airport in Uganda, with dictator Idi Amin's not-so-friendly assistance. Amin, known for being both flamboyant and terrifying, rolled out the red carpet for the terrorists. Passengers were separated. Israelis and Jews on one side, everyone else mostly released. Imagine being in that terminal, armed guards outside, Idi Amin strutting around pretending he's charming while you're trying to stay calm. The hijackers demanded the release of dozens of prisoners held in Israel and elsewhere. The clock was ticking, and everyone knew that the longer it dragged on, the more dangerous it became. So what did Israel do? Panic? Negotiate endlessly? Nope. They decided to go full Avengers Assemble. The Israeli government, led by Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin, weighed their options. Negotiating could mean encouraging more hijackings. Doing nothing risked lives. And staging a rescue mission meant somehow flying commandos thousands of miles into enemy territory to storm an airport in a hostile African country, all without GPS or Waze. After tense cabinet debates, they greenlit a rescue plan that would later be known as Operation Thunderbolt. Fun fact, it was renamed Operation Yonatan after the mission, to honor Yonatan Netanyahu, the heroic commander who would fall in the raid. The planning stage was like the ultimate group project: intelligence gathering, detailed maps of Entebbe, mock-ups of the terminal, even figuring out what snacks commandos could carry. Every detail mattered. The world thought Israel would negotiate like everyone else. Israel, instead, was quietly preparing one of the most jaw-dropping rescue missions in modern history. Here's where it gets even crazier. Israeli intelligence pieced together intel from released passengers, satellite photos, and even an Israeli construction company that had once built parts of Entebbe Airport. Talk about Yelp reviews coming in handy. They knew hostages were held in the old terminal, guarded by terrorists with explosives strapped to them. The plan? Fly over 2,500 miles undetected, land at night, storm the building, neutralize the hijackers, and get everyone out before Ugandan troops could react. Easy, right? Like ordering a pizza on DoorDash, except instead of a delivery fee, you might trigger an international incident. To make the deception better, they even used a black Mercedes resembling Idi Amin's official car so guards wouldn't suspect a thing when it rolled up. This wasn't just bravery, it was theatrical. If Broadway had a category for Best Musical featuring commandos, Israel would have won in 1976. Every soldier rehearsed endlessly because one wrong move could mean disaster. On the night of July 3, 1976, the mission launched. 4 Hercules C-130 transport planes, loaded with commandos, equipment, and even a Land Rover and Mercedes, flew low to avoid radar. Picture giant planes practically hugging the ground like stealth elephants. After 7 hours of tense flying, they landed at Entebbe around midnight. Commandos burst into action, sprinting from the planes toward the terminal. Within 90 seconds of entry, they shot 3 hijackers on the spot. A 4th was killed soon after. Imagine being a hostage, terrified, exhausted, and suddenly seeing armed commandos yelling in Hebrew, "Get down!" It must have felt surreal, like going from a horror movie to a Marvel film mid-scene.
Most drivers overpay for car insurance, not because they're careless, but because the system is needlessly complicated. Jerry fixes that. Traditional comparison sites give you quotes once, then disappear. But Jerry can handle all the insurance shopping legwork and never stops working. Compare 50-plus insurers side by side and purchase directly in the app. No spam calls, no hidden fees. They'll even monitor price trends and can alert you to better rates. Drivers who save with Jerry could save over $1,300 a year. Download the Jerry app or visit jerry.ai/libsyn today.
Innovation in American plastics means reducing, reusing, and
manufacture.
So you recycle.
Well, yeah, we manufacture recycled plastic. It's how we stay competitive.
And it's better for the environment.
And it's better for business.
How?
It's the way of the future. The U.S. has to keep up.
Less waste and a competitive U.S. economy.
Now you're getting.
Recycling yesterday's plastic because it was made to be more.
But it wasn't all smooth. Ugandan soldiers opened fire and a firefight erupted. The Israelis had to act fast, neutralizing resistance while shepherding hostages out to the plains. The whole raid from landing to departure took only about 90 minutes. 90 minutes! That's less time than it takes to binge watch an episode of Stranger Things. Of course, heroism came with loss. The mission succeeded, but Yonatan Yoni Netanyahu, the commander of Sayeret Matkal, Israel's elite commando unit, was shot and killed during the firefight. His death cast a shadow over the triumph, and he became a national hero in Israel. Yoni wasn't just anyone. He was brilliant, charismatic, and beloved by his soldiers. And yes, he was the older brother of Benjamin Netanyahu, who would later become prime minister. His sacrifice gave the mission its enduring name, Operation Yonatan. 3 hostages also died during the rescue, and one, Dora Bloch, who had been taken to a hospital earlier, was later murdered on Idi Amin's orders. These losses were tragic reminders that even the most daring operations carry a price. Still, the survival of over 100 hostages was nothing short of miraculous. The story spread worldwide like wildfire. Israel had pulled off what many thought impossible. Now, let's zoom out and talk global impact. For Israelis, the raid was electrifying. It reinforced the message that Jewish lives would not be abandoned, no matter how far or how dangerous the circumstances. It was like Israel saying, "Kidnap our people, and we'll come get them, even if you're in another continent." For Jews worldwide, it sparked pride and relief. It felt like a reversal of history. After centuries of Jews being powerless in the face of persecution, here was a Jewish state using elite forces to defend its people. Internationally, the raid was admired even by countries not always friendly to Israel. Military strategists studied the operation as a model of precision planning, intelligence coordination, and execution under extreme risk. Of course, not everyone clapped. Uganda screamed about sovereignty violations, and some critics worried about encouraging military responses to terrorism. Still, the overwhelming reaction was awe. Entebbe became shorthand for decisive, bold action against terror. Let's not forget Idi Amin. If Entebbe was Israel's Hollywood blockbuster, Amin was the bizarre villain. He strutted around during the crisis pretending to be mediator, but in reality, he supported the hijackers and likely coordinated with them. After the raid, his humiliation was complete. Israeli commandos had landed in his backyard, crushed the terrorists, killed dozens of his soldiers, and flown out almost untouched. For a dictator obsessed with his image, it was devastating. Amin retaliated by murdering Dora Bloch and expelling Uganda's Jewish community. His reputation, already awful, sank even further. In a way, Entebbe exposed Amin's regime as both brutal and incompetent. Pop culture later portrayed him in movies like The Last King of Scotland, where his erratic behavior bordered on caricature. But make no mistake, during the Entebbe crisis, Amin was deadly serious. His collaboration with the hijackers turned Uganda into an accomplice in one of the boldest hostage crises of the century. Hollywood couldn't resist. Almost immediately, the raid inspired movies, documentaries, and books. In fact, 3 different films about Entebbe came out within 2 years, clearly the 1970s equivalent of today's streaming wars. One was even made for TV, starring Charles Bronson. More recent takes, like the 2018 film 7 Days in Entebbe, try to dramatize both the hostages' ordeal and the Israeli commandos' daring. Entebbe also influenced countless fictional hostage rescue plots in shows, novels, and yes, even video games. Beyond pop culture, the raid reshaped counterterrorism worldwide. Special forces in the US, Britain, and elsewhere studied the tactics, incorporating lessons into their own training. Entebbe showed that bold, risky rescues were possible, and sometimes preferable to endless negotiations. It was proof that speed, surprise, and determination could save lives. The fact that it happened in 1976, long before high-tech drones and satellite-guided warfare, makes it even more astonishing. It was brains, guts, and sheer audacity. So what's the legacy? Entebbe is remembered not just as a military triumph, but as a story of courage, unity, and determination. For Israel, it symbolized a promise. Never again would Jews be left helpless in the face of terror. For the world, it became a case study in bold decision-making under impossible circumstances. And for pop culture nerds like us, it's basically the blueprint for every over-the-top rescue movie ever made. The operation remains a point of pride in Israeli history, and Yoni Netanyahu's sacrifice is still honored. Every July, Israelis commemorate the raid, not just for its military brilliance, but for the message it sent. Jewish lives matter, and no dictator or terrorist should underestimate that resolve. So next time you're watching an action flick where the heroes storm a compound in record time, remember, Entebbe was the real deal. And unlike Hollywood, the stakes weren't fake. They were life and death. And Israel pulled it off.